themes about witchcraft. I wonder if we're talking about a Cradle of Filth album. Well, we are, actually. Funny that you mention it. Hammer of the Witches. Hammer of the Witches by Cradle of Filth. We're talking like, this is like release number 11 for the band. So, they've been around for a while, in case you haven't recognized it. If this is your first rodeo with the band, either you're extremely young, or this is the first chance that you're giving to the band, or that rock that you've been living under must be pretty spacious. You know, sweet kitchen, maybe an awesome lounge, nice lounge chair, and at least one shitter. After all, you are under a rock. But this is a group that definitely has gained a fierce reputation, not to mention also is highly regarded whenever it comes to the UK metal community. And of course, if you are my age, actually if you're a little bit younger than my age, then you probably recognize the band from the group that all of the girls and guys that dressed in all black in your school claimed to be the greatest band on earth for about, 25 minutes. Or at least, you know, a year. I'm not trying to insult, to be perfectly honest with you, because I myself enjoyed Cradle of Filth quite a bit, and then sort of, you know, fell out of place with them a bit. And I remember whenever Right Wing of the Garden Triptych came out a couple of, I think about 2 months ago, that I felt pretty good about this disc. I felt as though the addition of another guitar player to open up the door for the twin guitar harmonies and sort of the dual guitar solo efforts definitely gave this band a little bit more life, and that their new female vocalist definitely offered something to the group. Now, listening to this album, I feel as though, as I feel about a lot of different bands, and the most recent one that I can speak about is actually Breaking Benjamin, who just came back after a long hiatus and have basically a whole new band except for Benjamin. And I felt as though their return album was decent enough where it stood on its own, but it's the album afterward where you're going to really see all the cohesiveness and the gelling. I feel that's actually what's very true and evident on Hammer of the Witches by Cradle of Filth, because it does have and possesses some extremely tight songwriting. So this group, considering their age and their experience, already have a lot of things figured out. But I feel as though everything within their potential under this lineup is something where they're still searching a little bit for that perfect balance and still kind of need to be together more to challenge one another in the songwriting department even further. Not to say that they didn't challenge themselves enough on this record, because there are certainly some pieces that warrant that. This is a 56-minute long album that's roughly 11 tracks in length, unless you get the bonus contents. There are 2 bonus tracks on here, which then take the overall length to about an hour and 8 minutes. But this is one that is characterized by its solid melody and its solid overall framework of its tracks. The only real complaint that I have is that this is a formula that they tend to repeat a good bit among their themology and among their overall song structure. It's not something where the repetition exists in a verse-chorus-verse structure, as you're going to hear from a band perhaps like Breaking Benjamin, where that's kind of the cornerstone of their musical identity, but rather it's instead one where the free-flowing nature of the vocals and lyricism is always been the central theme, but the overall mentality of the pacing of the music and the overall makeup and get-up of the tunes start to feel like they have similar makeup as you get deeper into this disc. I feel as though whenever it comes to true, genuine variety for Cradle of Filth, this is one that feels like it has just enough to get by, but still has a little bit more that it can offer. I'm a really big fan, though, of songs such as the title track, Hammer of the Witches. That was really a standout for me right before Right Wing of the Garden Triptych. I really actually feel that the first half of this disc is probably the stronger of the two. I feel like whenever you get into The Vampire at My Side and Onward Christian Soldiers, it starts to become a little bit more, it becomes a little bit more tedious in order to kind of make it to that finish line and make that final American Pharaoh-ish push to the checkered flag. It's one where the entire formula gets just a little bit, you could kind of see it coming. is, I suppose, the best way to really describe it. And that's not a bad thing, because if you're a seasoned Cradle of Filth pro, you'll know that that's not so much the focal point of their music. The focal point of their music is very much the themology. It's very much the lyricism. And the lyricism on this deals mainly with the Renaissance and some old legends, some old folklore, but it always centers around the idea of witchcraft, whether it be within the minds of the coven, either that, or within the rejection and persecution therein. So there's a lot of different things to really extrapolate from this, and of course Danny Filth as a wordsmith is not somebody that you can really stand back and accuse of really being repetitious. He's certainly one that uses and really commands the language very proudly, very well, and at a very high level. It's almost where you wonder if all of those folks that we mentioned at the onset of this video that were obsessed with Cradle of Filth for, you know, a year in high school or a year in their 20s, actually could boast any of the lyrics from free-form thought, or if this was instead something where they just had to say, you know, that line in that one song from them where they can't even recall, you know, a simple track title such as Sodomy and Lust, let alone Her Ghost in the Fog, either that or Deflowering the Maidenhead, Displeasuring the Goddess off of Hammer of the Witches here, which is another solid track, the second single that they released off of this album. I think overall this album flows well enough in order to really get by, but I'm really excited to hear what happens from this point. I feel like this was a great meeting of the minds with the added members that Cradle of Filth were able to take on for this disc, and I feel that the mastery level is one that's peaking toward that real crescendo, that real top of the mountain idea. While Hammer of the Witches is an album that I would still boast as a 79 out of 100, I'm more so excited and ecstatic to see what happens next, principally because I feel that this core has the tightness and the ability to challenge one another whenever it comes to songwriting just enough to really give the spark to this next album and really bring a little bit more to the table as far as the wild and the wonderful, because that was something that always set Cradle of Filth apart. They always had a little bit of the extremely strange, the extremely peculiar, something that always raised an eyebrow and commanded the attention. And as of recent, they've kind of fallen out of that and focused a little bit more on heavy metal and even a little bit of thrash to go with their extreme nature. And now I feel as though they're starting to get back into that sort of creative zone, and they are actually going to have a lot more to offer come the next record. But what do you guys think about Hammer of the Witches? Let me know in the comments below. As I said, I think it's a 79 out of 100. What score would you give it? And how excited are you about the future of Cradle of Filth based around the changes that the band has made in order to make their core a lot tighter? Do you like the inclusion of the twin guitar, the dueling guitar idea that has been sorely missed for the past couple of albums, or did you really like what they were producing prior to this album? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.